In a while, this is going to buffer for ages, but eventually, like 30 seconds or something, it'll come online there. And the thing is, I can do that. I've got that as my main output there, but I could also do a sub-output of a secondary destination. And if I was making virtual receivers, I could do, for example, if I do cast external system, I could do 2 separate ones as well. So I could have 2 main ones and 2 sub ones. So I could do one input to 4 different outputs at once. And that's with the software decoder. With the hardware decoder, I can do as many as I like. So you can see if I have a look at, if we pick this camera for example, if my main output is Belgrade 1, 2, I can then go, I want this, 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 and the stream record. And then it'll go to all. Although, to be fair, only main output will be the fastest. So main output will be 1.5 seconds. If you're after doing it really fast, main will be 1.5. Anything after that will be delayed because it forwards and then forwards and then forwards and then forwards. There we go. So.
Vidi ovo da se razumiju. Stream na YouTube kanal.
To pušta sve. To može i kod nas. To da.
Ali iz njega sve.
Ne,
Zero. Zero.
Thank you very much.
Ko je naručio Balkane vode?
8.8. A, to su nove. Probaj ovo. Znači, nema nisam nikom metal pravo kad je ovo slao kao klizi nekako, znači kao da je podlazak.
Nisam vidio da ima bijelo. Nema, to je blizu od toga.
Imamo high, imamo kameru. Šta nam treba da bi radio push proksija preko mobilne mreže u Hive sistemu? Šta je minimum?
Opet, u zavisnosti, zato što je kodera svaki onaj modul je posebno na plaću.
Ne stream, push file.
Mislim da možete to da raditi point by point, ali to možemo praviti sa ovim stvarima.
So what? Okay, questions. The first question was like, what's the difference between having server only and server with the cloud?
So server only, sure, it works fine. It's very, very simple. You get up to 30 registered cameras, and you get 2x2 outputs, and that's all. You can't do H.265 ever with anything. You can't do dual link, so you can't have 2 connections. You can't do phone. I said H.265 like that. And of course, none of the planning metadata or file operations at all. And you can't do any virtual outputs, so you can't do YouTube or anything like that. It's only to SDI. And you can only do point-to-point. You can't do multi-distribution. So if you want to send it to 2 servers, you can't do that. But you can do that. One key thing, not to get too far into the pricing model, is that if you have the server attached to XDCAM Air, you can still, so you can use XDCAM Air to administer from anywhere, but we don't charge you for the data throughput that goes to the server. We do still charge you for quantity if we're decoding in the cloud and forwarding, because of course there's some costs based with that, but if you have the server, you can do unlimited even if you're using XDCAM Air. And of course you can then register an unlimited number of sources. So it's the scalability. If you're only ever going to go from maybe 5, 10 cameras and you're only going to go to one point, get the server, it's fine. But you can do a lot more with XDCAM Air.
Of course. So there was another question.
There's also no integration into anything for just the server.
Another question, in order to integrate the camera in the field and the QoS and Hive for file workflow, for proxy files upload.
Okay, for proxy file workflows, the server's got nothing to do with it. The server,
it's just a point-to-point, TCP/IP.
This server, all it does in the context of XDCAM Air is provides hardware decode and SDI output. That's what it does. So we can go really, really fast. That's what it's for. For proxy workflows, it's nothing to do with that. So if you're doing a proxy workflow, you have basically three main settings in the camera, which are the XDCam Air address, the username and a password. Those are the things that you put in. There's a port, but it's preset unless you want to change it. It's fairly simple to be logged in. Once you're logged into that, all of the file transfer settings can be controlled from Air and centrally set. So at that point, if you want proxies to go straight to Air platform, do nothing. That's where they go to start with. If you want them to go somewhere else, you can set a default location and have the clips go there instead. And that location can be the same, or it can be different than where you send the high res, if you want to send high res. High res workflows are very interesting for some people. For most news organizations, they look at the proxy and they say, this proxy is really nice. This is nicer than we're sending to home, so we're just going to use this and we'll wait for the high res to come back. That's what most people do. But sometimes people are away for a long time. Sometimes you're doing more in-depth documentary type news, half-hour programs, hour-long programs where people are far away. Then it can be very, very useful to use the proxy as an offline, effectively, and then do a conform while people are at the hotel at night or something like that. Really, it's up to you to come up with the workflows. Like I've said to every customer I've seen this week, I show all of this stuff off, and you think about it, and then you think, actually, maybe this would be good, this would be good, this would be good. One of the things that would be, will you be at NAB? Anybody?
Problem.
Okay, because I think we should. I work very, very closely with a guy called Dave Headley, who you might have met. I know he's very noisy, but he's a nice guy. He works hard. Me and him will be running some NAB demos and demonstrations of all of this stuff integrated in Hide and XDCam Air and cameras and all of this stuff, all working together, which I think would be very valuable for you to see, given the stuff that you're talking about, because we can achieve a lot of very interesting things that way.
The question is a bare minimum, just to get actually a proxy file from the camera wirelessly into Hide. Can this be done without Air service?
Yeah, it can. You can set up a sort of naked FTP. You can set up a sort of naked FTP into Hide.
And then when importing into Hide as proxy, so do we need instruction to Hide, this is a proxy, and you might expect some high resolution material? You
can do that through Air, you can't do it through Hive, because that requires, you can do that through Air, but you can't do it without Air. Because Air is aware of both of the resolutions, and it's aware of the camera status, and it's able to track these things. Hive doesn't have a module that can tell it, that can work out, because all Hive sees is a single file. Well, it sees two files. It sees a metadata file and a media file. But it needs a message to be told that this is the low quality version of an asset. If you just send the file, there's no mechanism to notify it of that.
It should be done manually by operator.
It can be done automatically by XDCam Air, because XDCam Air knows there's two versions of it, because it's been talking to the camera. But Hive hasn't been talking to the camera directly, so for that kind of automation, Air needs to be in the middle.
Otherwise, I mean, if the proxy file arrives, actually Hive will think it's just a file, so you can use it for online purposes.
You can always replace the files.
You can replace the files.
Always.
Yeah.
When they're edited. Some kind of switch operation.
You know which one corresponds to proxy.
And then Vlad asked me just briefly about pricing, because I told them, just if we don't have to get involved really heavily, but just briefly later.
Yeah, so I'll explain how it's structured. The reason we don't need to get into it heavily is not because I'm worried that you'll be afraid of the numbers. XDCam Air is something we need to roll out. One of the things is that this is a worldwide product, and because it's a worldwide product, we need pricing that works in Suriname and Equatorial Guinea and countries where the broadcast infrastructure is not what it is in Europe. The other part is that it needs to be something that we can roll out to every camera. Like I say, the value in XDCam Air is that it works for every camera, not just some of them. Because if it's just some, then you've got a whole planning mentality that we want to try and avoid you having to have. So what you do in an XDCam Air subscription is you pay for the number of cameras that you have in. So there's a camera license, and that's fixed to a camera. So you register all your cameras on the platform, but that price is very low. We're talking, that one, the first one is 30 euros, and I think they're 20 euros after the 10th or something like that. Like it starts at 30 and goes down.
One time only or
monthly. So all of these things go to build the basis for it. I'm going to be talking about this for about the next 10 minutes, just to warn you. The reason is that we do a lot of different services in XDCam Air, and not all of them are interesting for all of the people. And not all of them apply to every camera. So some of the bits we have to take out. So underneath the camera license, for example, there's an H.265 license, because there's a lot more processing that goes on around that, and of course it's a big benefit, and we've got to eat as well. The other one is the dual link license, because then there's multiplexing and things like that, which also have to happen. A dual link and H.265 are options because they're not available on every camera and not everybody needs them. So those are then bolt-ons to the camera license. There's then XDCam Pocket. So the app for XDCam Pocket is free. A couple of you have already installed it. And that can be published out to as many people as you want. What you pay for is simultaneous connections in to XDCam Air. So you say, okay, well this camera and this one and this one and this one need to go live, so that's all right. So that's how XDCam Pocket works. That is then a higher price because that floats. The cameras don't, but Pocket floats. You then have CMS license. So the CMS license first gives you storage on the platform, gives you a terabyte. A terabyte of storage on AWS is not very much money. I mean, there's calculators on Amazon. You know what that is, so we can't charge a lot for that, and we don't. The interface and the other functions are where the majority of the cost for that license comes on, and that again is a cost per simultaneous user, so it's a floating license, for the number of people who are logged into the CMS functions. So the CMS functions are then the asset window and the transfer window. The one we use to pull clips out, the one we use to look at clips. And that, the first one starts at 60 euros a month and it goes down from there, depending on how many you want. Generally, most people aren't talking about having more than 2 or 3 of those, depending on the size of the broadcaster, of course. So that's how that works. One thing I will mention is that for API integrations into other products, like MAMs, for example, those are negotiated separately. Because, of course, if you're using one API license to connect a MAM with 500 users on the other side, that's not going to actively, it's very hard to set a price for that. Because, of course, it needs to scale based on the customer base and the thing. So that's a separate negotiation, but that can be worked out. What else am I talking about? Stream outputs. So stream outputs is the other thing. Whatever goes through the platform, wherever it's going, you pay for the number of simultaneous streams that you go out. So you have one license, you can have unlimited inputs, which you pay for by Pocket licenses and camera licenses, and then each stream that you're sending through the platform, so from the camera to the platform, is what you pay for. That includes a data allowance. So of course, if you're sending to one of these, you don't touch the data allowance, that never runs out. If you're doing virtuals, then you've got 100 gig per output license, and you can buy more. 100 gig equals 44 and a quarter or so hours at 6 megabits to one destination. Of course, to 2 destinations, it goes down to 22 hours, 4 destinations, it's 11, but if you're only doing 3 megabits, then it's 88. That's roughly how that works out. That won't change if you're using H.265, because of course then you'll be using far less data. So that's actually quite an efficient way of going about doing that. I think that's all.
That's it.
What about the hardware?
The hardware is...
Hardware is separate, so I think its list price is around 8,000 thereabouts. Nisha has his own price list, but
How much? Sorry, just the mobile license of 5. How much is it?
It's about 200.
200 for 5 phones.
4 or 5 simultaneously connected phones.
This is not per phone.
Yeah, I understand. Znači the 5 u isto vreme se konektuju.
The application is free.
The application is free to the phone.
But again, license for mobile is monthly or?
It's all monthly.
And CMS is 60.
60 or so.
And
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. Everything drops the bigger you go.
So it's 500 mobile? 5
100 per mobile.
5
No, it's not. It's about 200.
200, okay.
200 for 5 mobile inputs. You need a streaming license on top of that to do the outputs.
Is there
And anyway,
Može da se ima za svaki slučaj, ali...
even on the camera, so what Tom was
okay, so can we exercise some spreadsheet and
We can absolutely do that. What we need to do, I'll unplug this because I can't show you the model itself, but we can work out roughly where we're going to. Because the reason I can't show you the model is we decided it a week ago.
Poenta ovoga je što sad samo se vratim jedan korak nazad. Poenta je što ti kažeš pa mi maksimalno možemo to. Pa ovo jeste poenta za to. Da ti imaš available u svakom trenutku da dozvoliš svakom. Da li će oni da rade, to je druga stvar. Da li će ih oni pozivati da... Ali u slučaju on ide iz Niša za Beograd, pa će mu se desiti nešto. Oni ga zustavi kao imaš kameru, radi, nema šanac, ali imaš kameru, tu daj nešto.
How easy it is to change the number of licenses, for example, more auto streams or or less cameras, depending on peaks in their production. So I don't know, like Fuji coming, so probably extra 10 cameras on the top or something like that. In this particular
It's pretty easy. So
They are obliged for 1 year or 2 year contract or something like that.
you'll get a bit of a discount if you do that. So basically, you don't have to. But basically, the way that it works, I mean, this is not. Internally, there's a lot of stuff going on because this is not how Sony normally sells stuff because it's a very different platform.
And I'm surprised.
It's believe me, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but yeah, I mean, basically there are discounts available for longer commitments, and you can scale up around that. But of course, any scaling up is then based at list. But it's not like normal Sony where this is list price, but of course for you this is the price. It's a cloud service, so we'll find the numbers, but the discounting and things are fairly fixed on it. But anyway, so what are we talking about? How many cameras can you imagine that you would have as inputs?
Maybe 10.
10 cameras. And would you want to be able to send metadata to all of those cameras?
Yes.
Okay.
And
And none of those cameras at the moment are Z280s, are they? No. So that doesn't matter? Okay, and how many pockets do you think you would have connected to the platform at the same time?
What is the smallest number?
One.
1 or 5? I don't know.
We're talking, well, you tell me how many actual pockets and I'll do the numbers.
2 simultaneous, you said.
Maybe 2 or 3.
Two simultaneous.
Okay.
Let's go with the 2 simultaneous.
And how many people would you want to
Simultaneous.
connect to the, how many people would you want to be able to browse the CMS at the same time?
2.
Okay, now how many streams from all of the inputs would you have streaming out at the same time?
You're talking about virtual as well, or?
Yeah.
Well,
No. Well, how many active, not destinations, how many active inputs?
how many active inputs?
So you can send one camera to as many destinations as you like, that's still only one. It's where you've got 2 cameras going into 2 separate places with
Let's
different
go with
pictures.
4.
Maksimalno možete imati 4 ekipe u istom trenutku da su nešto pokrili. Ali to je jako redko.
I oni mogu 2 da rade prepodne, 2 popodne, znači 2.
Ne, ali kad se dogodi neki razlog,
Ovo subscription service, mi uvijek možemo se dogovorimo.
Dobro, da vidimo što
ti naplaću jedan mjesec da platimo više.
Da, ne, pa to sam ja rekao, da je maksimum ko da vidiš.
Pazi, to što je mjesečno plaćanje, nije od sad pa za najmi. Kažemo je kao, sutra imamo za ajde za ovaj mjesec, naravno platimo, ajde proširimo to, treba će nam sutra, to platimo, to se nastavljamo postaviti.
Evo stigo je više u budućem malo.
Okay, so for that, meaning then, file access and streaming from 10 cameras. If you're streaming to a server, unlimited, plus an unlimited number of virtual receivers that you can create. Plus all of the phones, so then we're talking to pocket licenses, so up to 10 simultaneously connected pockets streaming at the active at the same time, which you can use as sources, is about €2,400 a month.
And plus the Amazon.
No.
Capacity.
No, that's all of it.
That's all.
That's all of it.
That's only your local traffic.
Yeah, you pay for your local traffic, but that's it. That's all of it.
The amount of storage in Amazon server is
It's a terabyte.
Terabyte.
But unless you're putting high-res up there, you're never going to hit it. It's
But they are very lazy about deleting.
And
You can set a rule.
Just for comparison purposes, if they had 2 streams as output, simultaneous streams, what the price would be? Everything else remains the same.
If we drop that from 4 down to 2,
Yeah.
1775.
Although
Although 1775 includes a 5% discount for a 1-year commitment.
Yeah.
A onda još da, ako se recimo 5% na godinu, na 3 godine toliko, na 5 godina ono, tako da ima i tu
Dobro, ne znam što mislim sad na to.
Ja samo kažem da postoji, ne kažem ja da vam treba to da...
Aha, what's the minimum commitment then? Is it monthly?
Oh, it's monthly, but then you don't get that 5% discount.
Rolling contract.
Ima samo discount na dve.
One thing I will say about expanding and scaling up and down, we are working on, but I suspect it won't be ready for about a year, a user interface for you to do that yourself. At the moment, we don't have that. What you have to do is contact me, and I go into the order management system and I scale it up. So if you need that to be on a Friday night, I'm going to be at the pub and I'm going to be drunk and you're not going to get it. That's how that's going to work on most Fridays. So you need to plan a little bit.
Which pub?
The Coach and Horses in Rotherwick. You're welcome to join me there. We'll have a wonderful time.
And not talking about business.
And not talking about business.
Me, hey, go to the pub.
So we are working on those interfaces. At the moment, we don't have them. So basically, you need to catch me when I'm near an internet connection and a laptop.
Portal, so you can log in.
Yeah, there will be one. At the moment, I can access that, but we haven't done a user interface with an API into that portal. It's set up for it, but we haven't finished it. So if you've got an election coming up, then sure, get in touch and I'll do it. It takes about half an hour to activate if you get hold of it. And I'm going to train.
For that, we planned 15 days earlier.
Exactly. So then it's fine. But usually that should be fine. So yeah, that's where we're at.
Ovo kad vidim nije ni dobro.
I šta smo rekli, koliko je hardware?
Ma to će da bi gratis.
Ispod 10.000, šta?
Je ispod 10, da. Ja mislim da je 8, pa imaš
Ajde.
To je ovo sa dva
Svi su oni sa 2 izlaze, da.
On je rekao da ima neki
Sve ja moram da nosim.
Fizička četiri, u stvari dva su različite.
Ali simultaneous ima 20.
Ali uvijek to kao, ima više.
Ima jedan graded, ja mislim, ali nije ovaj sa H265, a s obzirom da oni nemaju H265 kamere i ne...
Isti ovakav, znači isti ovakav.
Isti, samo što je...
Ima taj graded, ali ne znam da li A ili B. Ali da je ja, eto, to je 20% niže.
PWS 110, RX1.
Dobro. RX1A.
A to je...
To je ovaj novi sa H265.
Pa nema stari.
Da,
Izvinjam se.
A neki X-Demo više.
Ima jedan.
7.9. Sitnici.
Robot, znamo samo sve.
Još sam slagao, ako sam rekao se.
Nije što je.
Teo se da izuzmeš pare.
Sa PDV-om.
Mišo, služi sve.
Za Mišu iPhone.
Dobro, Đole, ajde ovako. Znam da će ti rukama da ti trne, ali ako bi kupili sad u narednih mjesec dana ovaj jedan server, jel dobiju jedan iPhone gratis?
Kako gratis?
Ko da dobije?
Pa mislim da
Ko
bude
si
u paketu.
Onda dobije.
Ne on, nego bude u paketu. Vama.
Iznenađenje, o to mi
To. Stavimo jedan iPhone u paketu.
Može, ti znaš šta je najviše ceni kod Sony?
PlayStation bolje.
Bubice.
Da.
Bubice.
Viš kako zna.
Wireless bubice.
PlayStation 4 Pro.
Najpoznatiji proizvod.
Jest, baš sam.
Ko je najpoznatiji Sony?
Verite mi.
Ja sam te ne znam.
Bio
To
sam
je najbolje spravo
u
ikada.
Meksiku. Meksiku, ono plinačke
Mislim za
igrice
konzumer,
i tamo deca sedi, igraju Sony PlayStation, igraju ono FIFA, UEFA, nemam pojma.
Ne,
Baš razmišljam.
Walkman,
To je
pa onda
preraslo
PlayStation,
samo
to su
igre.
dva
A
različita.
Vlada Ilić kaže,
Prerasli
ovo je
odavno.
najbolji story professional proizvod, rekao, idi bre, ovo je najbolji proizvod, oni ga imaju 3 godine i svako
Koliko je bilo tu
sekundu se
ubeđivanje da
menja.
uopšte krene proizvodnja toga?
Baš ga trndaju.
Taj PlayStation
Priča.
kao Walkman u svojoj vremenu.
Šta će to na?
Pa sjećate se da je, kad
A
se
ovo
pojavio
je-
Blu-ray, otprilike je bio, ko je najbolji Blu-ray player Sony PlayStation?
Ne, on je apsolutno.
A jeste bio.
postao i standard.
Jeste bio.
PlayStation postali standard.
On je PlayStation 3.
Tako, to je
Tako,
bio
još ne
Blu-ray
znam šta je
player.
bilo, ali da, bio najbolji.
Sad se svi čekuju peticu ove godine.
Ne, ja mislim te sledeće.
A dobro da je predstavio.
Blu-ray.
A, pa to da.
Se već šuška dosta o tome.
Znači, olimpijske igre na PlayStation 5 u 8K.
Stvarno?
Pričaju da će biti 4K 60 frame-ova ili možda...
Ne, prva će biti verovatno
4K 60,
pa
pošto
onda
sad
će
imaju ovu
možda...
4K 30. Pa će kao 4K 60.
I HDR.
Dobro, HDR je.
A svaki televizor vozi 3 godine.
Ja sam kupio
Morali
za
smo
prošle
moli
mjesec.
kad je bilo ono, znaš.
Nisam
Kako
vidio
je
na
to?
South Africa.
Da, bre, sve to
Došao
se
sam našao,
najde.
recimo,
Više, sam primetio LG kako ima na ćoškovi dosta. Ovo je star TV, star 5 godina već.
Svi ima, to je dokaz kvaliteta.
Ne, ona je dobar, vidio sam sad možda ono već neku godinu, onaj OLED što je izdao, ako idete vremena, oni se srećni,
Dobro do časa.
oni što je
Da, oni što...
ali je tumač, mislim, ja sam
Ne bre, imamo...
kupio neki, ali ovo je stvarno tumač, 3000 izađe ovaj godin, skoro je. Za 55 i za 55 inča, mislim da je to stvarno
Dobro, niste samo
dobar je, mnogo lepo izgleda, sve super,
preko Ade.
mislim, nema pojma.
Ma malo, čekaj, ekskluziva.
Pola
Pa
20.
dobro, trebalo bi malo da,
možda malo kasnije.
mislim da bi bar malo to.
Može će biti...
Are you hungry?
Znaš ovi novi
We are just discussing if you can have some light lunch maybe, so we can continue chatting upstairs.
Sad ovaj posljednji što je izašao nema, ali su napravili